Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Well Wishes. Today I will be continuing with some of the verses from the Bhagavad-Gita about the soul. And I'm going to be mostly referring from the second chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. So if you've got a copy, feel free to open it up. I'll tell you what the verses I'll be quoting before I sing them and give the translation. So the first one is from chapter 2. And you'll see that each verse has a text number. So if you go to text number 13, it starts off as such, and I'm going to sing that. So it's Dehi nosmi yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. When I first learned about this was like so I just had like an epiphany. Because I think growing up you hear about some aspects of spirituality, but you don't actually understand how it works. So I guess growing up, I always heard about reincarnation, but it made more sense to me from reading this verse, where it actually says that you're actually changing bodies at every single second that you're living. And that actually is really true, because the Dina Sharana that you saw 1 minute ago is different to the Dina Sharana that you see now. And that's because all the cells in my body, inside and around, they're all like moving and operating. And they're not the same cells that you may have seen. Well, maybe some of them are, but some of the cells may have like moved positions, or they may have, they would have changed. So in that way, that change that's going, at every single second that I'm living, or every millisecond, there's some change happening in my body. And you will notice that difference significantly maybe after 10, 15 years. And that change is the change of my body. So the soul that I have is staying in my body, but my body is changing. So similarly, at the time of death, the soul actually changes to another body. And that was really interesting for me to understand. So so that's really cool. I thought that was amazing to understand that reincarnation, it isn't something that only happens at death, or it's it's a process that's like the change or the changing of bodies is something that's continually happening, and it happens for every single living entity. So if you find any living being, like for a cat, for example, cats or dogs, like we have a cute little puppy at home named Kofi, and when we got her, she was a tiny little baby, and she could like just fit within our hands. And now she's like she's still very small, but she's a lot bigger now. So all of us, we're all growing, and yeah, that's interesting. And so the next verse that I'm going to tell you is text 17 from chapter 2. So it goes like this. Iv avinasi tu tadviti yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasya na kaschid kartumarhati. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So then we get some facts about the actual soul. So it says that the soul is indestructible and it's eternal. So I guess we probably don't have a really good concept of eternality, because we're always, we're conditioned to seeing things that's starting and ending. But if you think of stuff like time, for example, no one can say the origins of time. So similarly, it's actually said in the Bhagavad-Gita that we're all eternal spirit souls. So there's no time that we ever came to be. we've always been existing as eternal souls. Pretty cool stuff, hey. But yeah, I guess we need to know those facts to kind of understand anything else that comes future on in the Bhagavad-Gita and other Vedic texts. So the next verse is 18 of chapter 2. So Antavanta ime deha nitya shokta saririna anasino prameshyasya tasmadyudyasva bharata. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharata. Yainam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hata ubhautau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks is slain is in knowledge, for the self slays nor is slain. So Krishna is actually telling us that the eternal spirit soul can never be destroyed. It is never slain, and nor can one cause it to be slain. Okay, the next is text. I just did text 19, so now text 20. Na jayate mrityate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitava na bhuya ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sarire. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Next, text 21. Veda vinashinam nityam yayenam ajamavyayam katam sa purusha partha kam gatayati hantikam. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Basam shijira nani yata vihaya navani girnati naro parani tapta sarirani vihaya jirnani hanyani samyati navani dehi. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So this sheds some light into the process of reincarnation. So just like I might change, from salva to a sari to jeans to a shirt. So just like we change garments, the material body is like a dress or a garment to the soul, and at the time of death it also gets changed. So it's really interesting, right? Nainam chintanti sastrani naimam dathati pavaka na chainam kledayanti yapo na soshayati maruta. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, no burnt by fire, no moistened by water, no withered by the wind. Achedhyoyam adhayoyam akledhyo soshaivacha nitya sarva gatastanur achaloyam stanatatana. The individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should never grieve for the body. Ata chainam nitya jatam nitya vaman yashi mrityata Tatapi tvam mahabhaho nainam suchittumarhasi. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed Arjuna. So Krishna is actually saying that if you, after all this, don't believe even in the soul, then why should you worry and be so sad and detached? If we're just a lump of chemicals that come together and disintegrate, then why should you be sad? Like, no one's ever sad when they conduct when they do science experiments in their school lab and put like a little bit of hydrochloric acid and this and that, and then they pour it out. No one's ever sad because the chemicals came together and, got scattered at the end. So Krishna is saying that if you don't believe in the soul, then still you have no reason to lament. But Krishna does say that we do have the soul, and it gets really interesting if you believe in the soul or you kind of try to understand it. I thought that this process of understanding spirituality as presented by the Bhagavad-Gita was the most scientific thing that I've ever learned in my entire life. It answered all of the big questions that I have had growing up, all the questions that, there was like a gap between religion and science, and I thought Bhagavad-Gita brought it all together. So I hope to share all of those in future videos, little by little. There's actually so much to learn, and we actually learned that, how you have to go through all this education to finally get a degree and to start working. You have to learn like the basics, like 1 + 1 is 2, to get to a level where you can study in university and be qualified to go get a job. Similarly, if someone wants to even understand themselves, or if they want to understand God and how everything works, then there's a process to actually understanding God. So I really hope that that we can share that knowledge to you, and you get access to understanding it, and maybe it changes your life just like it did for me. Have a great day, guys. Hare Krishna.